In this screencast, I want to really start off by talking to you about cost leadership advantage in gyms. We will also, in the final couple of slides, look at differentiation strategy in gyms, just as a contrast to cost leadership. But the main focus in what I'm going to discuss with you is how the cost leadership principles have been taken and developed by budget gyms in this country. And in particular, we're going to focus on what they've done. So what kind of resources or competencies they have developed. And we'll try and relate this to value chain activities. So, first of all, let's think about how an organisation becomes a cost leader. How does it try and develop a cost advantage? Well, it chooses a low level of differentiation. Differentiation is expensive. What do I mean by this? Well, it produces a kind of standard product. Yeah, it goes for the average customer. So it doesn't offer variations. Yeah, it makes a kind of one size fits all product. It does not segment the market. So I know that in marketing, you may be told that marketing involves careful market segmentation, targeting and positioning. So you segment the market, you decide which segments to target, and then using the marketing mix, you kind of target and position your products to be attractive to your selected market segments. Well, a budget gym doesn't really do this. It does kind of consider cost conscious consumers, but it doesn't provide lots of different marketing mixes for different products that it offers. It offers one standard product with a low level of differentiation. It doesn't look to add features which may be attractive or not attractive to different market segments. It produces a standard product and it develops distinctive competencies to minimize costs. Now, this can be either manufacturing, if you're making something, or service operations in the case of a gym. And quite often it employs technology development to minimize these costs. And it will also have a lean staff structure as well, quite often. So there is a video at this link here, so you'd need to go to the slides to look at it, in which a consultant called Ray Algar talks a little bit about how budget gyms have developed and how they've tried to develop competencies. But I'm going to try and cover some of these things in the following slides. You will be able to, if you go to the PowerPoint slides, which are in this week's folder, follow this link through. So clearly here, most of you will know about this. We're talking about budget gyms like Pure Gym or Exercise for Less, those kinds of things, or the gym. And these have been the real growth areas in health and fitness clubs. And one reason that the economic value of the sport industry has kept growing is because of the growth in the budget gym sector. Okay, so let's think about what budget gyms are doing. And this is Ray Algar as well. The picture is slightly blurred, but Ray Algar, his publications on this are available in this week's folder. So if you look in the week 8 folder on Blackboard, you'll be able to read the reports that this is taken from. So what characterises a budget gym? Well, the first thing is that it operates at 50%, at least 50% lower than the average industry price. So there is an attractiveness there to the consumer. Okay. And we talked about in a slide, a couple of slides ago, how how a cost leadership doesn't differentiate and it goes for the average customer. So what budget gyms have done is they have developed a gym only proposition. So when fitness clubs first really started to grow in the UK at the end of the 1990s and into the early 2000s, they were developed by really businesses that were in hotel chains, and people who were in hotels were in hospitality more than sport and fitness. And what they also knew about was restaurants, bars, catering, hotels and spas. So what you might have had is kind of spa facilities, nail bars, hairdressers, tanning shops, nail shops, on top of kind of, catering, cafes, restaurants, bars within the gym. And the gym also would have had a sauna, and it would have had a swimming pool. And a lot of that, I think, can be explained by the fact that a lot of the early entrants to this market, they'd come from the kind of hospitality and hotel sector rather than the sports sector. Now, what budget gyms have said is, well, we've done research with consumers, and what we find is that what customers actually value, what really adds value to them and what they're willing to pay for is the gym. And most members of premium health and fitness clubs use the gym. And swimming pools, for example, are seen as nice to have, a nice option, but they're not very well used. And most fitness club users who were members of clubs that had swimming pools said, yeah, it's nice to have, I'll occasionally use it, but it's not really important to me. So therefore, a budget gym thinks, okay, well, we can reduce costs by removing that. And also, a coffee shop, a beauty kind of treatment, a spa, nice to have, but they're not really critical. So what budget gyms have done is they've kind of thought, well, how can we pare back what we're offering here down to the bare essentials? And in some ways, this is analogous to Ryanair. There's no business class or first class in Ryanair. There is standard class. Yeah. There are no added frills or features. You can buy some of them, but essentially when you buy a ticket, you don't get a meal. When I first started going on holiday, even on a package holiday on the flight, you would get a meal. It's not like now on Ryanair where you've got to buy that. So what they've done is they've stripped out costs in order to keep the price very low. So they've not done any differentiation. They've looked at, well, what is the core product? Let's not add any extra features which allow us to charge a higher price. What users actually want? And what we'll do is we'll build a good quality gym which is well equipped, but we won't offer anything else, and that will allow us to reduce our costs. Okay, so they're kind of reducing the scope of what they're offering. And one of the things that they're also doing is they've developed, so think about value chain, and we talked about information systems and information technology, and we said how that kind of support activity could help reduce costs. Well, what budget gyms do is, if you join a budget gym, previously a kind of gym would have a sales team, and you would go and visit, someone would show you around, and then they'd sit you down and they'd do a bit of a hard sell, and they'd give you calls over the following weeks to try to get you to take out a membership. That doesn't happen at budget gyms. You join online. So a bit like Ryanair have cut out the middleman by cutting out travel agents, and you book your flight yourself. At Ryanair, at budget gyms, you take out the membership yourself online. And while you take out your membership online, they capture information about you so that they can do customer relationship management via text and web. So your joining information gives them lots of information where they're able to then communicate with you. But joining online means that they capture information about you, and that they don't have to pay a sales team. Okay, how do you get access to some of these budget gyms? Well, some budget gyms have got a swipe card. Some are biometric, you've got a thumbprint, some have got a PIN code that you use to get in. But what does that mean? Well, investment in that bit of technology means you don't pay for a receptionist. So you don't have a receptionist on duty. Okay. And also they have things like virtual instructors. So if a class is happening, it's given by a virtual instructor rather than someone in person. And as we've seen, people will quite happily do that during lockdown. People would do Joe Wicks-led classes, and they're able to do that, and that's been a growth area. And that's something that even in lockdown now, businesses, budget gyms and gyms and the health and fitness industry is looking at how they can monetize and expand the kind of virtual classes. But, budget gyms have been doing this for a number of years. So they've developed some competence in using technology, and that use of technology has allowed them to communicate better with customers through use of CRM systems, which are kind of online, and use social media, email, SMS text when these things first started out. So they've developed competencies there, which is kind of, after you've joined, post-purchase, after sales service, they have the option of using CRM to keep up communication with you, because in the fitness industry, attrition rates, or that's to say people not renewing their memberships, is a major strategic issue. So they're trying to address that through heavy technology web use. It also allows them to reduce the cost of their operations, and it also allows them to reduce the cost of their marketing and sales. We've talked about those things, okay? Right. So heavy technology, they've invested in that to become more efficient, right? And linked to that as well, they've also got the ability to operate the club with a single person, or certainly a very lean staff structure. Because there's no reception, because there's just one big gym area, because there is no kind of swimming pool and different rooms which might need staffing, and typically a swimming pool would need lifeguarding and support. And if you know anything about the economics of sports facilities, traditionally the biggest cost in sports facilities hasn't been building or equipping or heating the building, it's been staff. And if you are able to come up with a business model that strips out staff, that immediately gives you a huge competitive cost advantage over other facilities which are employing far more staff, quite often because of the design of the building. But by stripping out different aspects, and they're reducing the need for staff costs. And some of this is because they've also invested in technology to actually reduce the need for staff. But also, and some of you will be aware of this, they're reducing staff costs by having people work as instructors in their gyms, and they don't actually pay them. In fact, in some instances, the staff who are working there pay the budget operator to actually be in the facility in the hope of being able to sell some personal training classes to people using the gym. So they've really looked at how we can kind of reduce staff costs, which are a major cost to them. Okay. And the other thing that they do is, because of the heavy use of web technology, they're able to operate the gym 24 hours a day. Yeah, because they haven't got high staff costs, and because they use web technology, they can operate gyms 24 hours a day. Now, that allows them to increase their membership. So typically you would find that they have more members per club than your premium club, and that allows them to be kind of more efficient. So they've got more members per square metre of space, or more members per club. So that's a more cost efficient business model for them. So let's just look at some of these things. I think I've talked about a lot of these, but what we're saying is that what's interesting about this diagram, which again is from Ray Algar's book, which is in Blackboard in this week's folder, is that cost leadership isn't about cutting everything. It's about investing and raising in some areas. So increased technology use, which we've talked about here already. Increased operating efficiency. Yeah. They've got very good quality of membership data, which links to their customer relationship management system, and they make heavy use of web and social media. So they've developed distinctive competencies, if you like, in those areas. And what have they created? So they've created a simple to understand proposition. There's one level of membership, broadly speaking, not many different levels of membership. A supersized gym, flexible hybrid staff roles, so people who are working there, they might be able to kind of clean and run classes as well, but they've kind of, multi-skilled staff, yeah, hybrid staff roles, rather than you're a receptionist and your job is to sit on reception and nothing else. They're actually more efficient in that way. A self-service environment, so you join online yourself, you let yourself into the club. So that is very much taken from Ryanair and the kind of budget gym where online check-in means that they don't have to pay someone to man the check-in desks at the airport. Yeah. You carry your own luggage on so that they can kind of turn their planes around more quickly. So there's a lot of this stuff which is actually brought in from budget airlines. And these are some of the things that they've reduced. Yeah. So, they've reduced the overall club size because they've not got all these other features in. It's cheaper for them to build because of that. They're reducing a number of things. And if you read Ray Algar's report, you'll be able to read more in these. And what have they done? Well, they've eliminated loss-leading facilities. Yeah, so things which are expensive to operate and which customers don't particularly value. And they've eliminated traditional staff roles, and they've got kind of different approaches to these kinds of things. Okay. And so it's an interesting model, and it's one that really has taken off and really, ensured that the sports market has kept growing. And some would say it's made it, that it's increased participation in terms of health and fitness because it's more affordable to a wider range of people. Okay, so we've talked about a cost leader there. Let's just look at the under end of things and talk about a differentiator. So how does a company become a differentiator? It chooses a high level of product differentiation. We'll look at a club at a minute which offers lots of different options and choices, right? So it provides a high level of product differentiation through high quality, lots of innovation, responsiveness to customers, and research and development and distinctive competencies to achieve the above. So this is Equinox Health and Fitness Clubs. There's not many of these, but they do actually exist. Okay. And what you can see is that, to actually join will cost you £475 on the day because there is an initiation fee. And there's kind of a month's fee which is due. So you pay £200 to join and thereafter £205 per month. Now this slide was taken about 12 months ago. There's not many of these clubs. You can see that this one is based in Kensington in London. If we're honest, if a club like this tried to open in Sheffield, it wouldn't last because there aren't enough people with enough money in Sheffield who are interested and willing to pay this amount of money. But, where the market does exist, there is the opportunity for this. And boutique health and fitness clubs are a little bit of an example of this as well. But we'll talk about them a little bit more when we talk about focus strategies at the end of this, at the end of the screencast, the final screencast today. So £205, what do you get for that? Well, I've got to be honest, some of these things, I don't even know what they are. So I don't know what Equifit is. Yeah. I don't know what an Equinet is. But what I can tell is that this is kind of diametrically opposed to the philosophy of a budget gym, which is kind of strip everything out and have a standard approach. What have we got here? We've got yoga studio, cycling studio, Pilates studio, boxing studio, Equifit, whatever that might be, strength and cardio equipment. Okay. Ancillary stuff, we've got eucalyptus scented towels with a flower pushed in them. Apparently at this gym you can have hot towels, cold towels, soft towels, scratchy towels, whatever. Yeah. So there's a lot of personalisation and tailoring, and all that adds costs. And the trick is, can you add costs but still be able to charge a differentiated price which covers the additional cost to maintain your profit margin? And in this market, this organisation is definitely thinking that they can. So what we can see is as well Kiehl's cosmetics and toiletries, which are available and to some degree complementary. And we've got things like, juice bar and cafe, a lounge, a creche, a laundry service, a coat check. So things that you really wouldn't see in a budget health and fitness operator. And so this operates. We'll come back and we'll talk about what's happened with the health and fitness market and how there's been a bit of a shakeout as the result of budget gyms. But this is an example of differentiation. But I would say that differentiation in the health and fitness market is limited, and the main developments in the health and fitness market have been at the cost leadership end of things, definitely. And we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end when we come back to consider this concept of being stuck in the middle. Okay, so that's health and fitness clubs examples that I wanted to talk to you about. What I want to talk to you about in the next screencast relates to the sportswear industry, so sports goods manufacturers, so Nike, Adidas, Under Armour and others, but we'll specifically look at those three companies when we consider differentiation in the sportswear industry and how that is being pursued.